members of the House. When I got back to my office in Pocahontas yesterday, I was struck by the irony when I looked at my desk of finding my W-2 form. I bet most of you got yours as well. The W-2 is, of course, the official start to the tax season. It's thrilling for some, chilling for most of us. But receiving our W-2 is a very real reminder that in just 3 days, tax season starts. Virginians will begin filing their 2018 tax returns on Monday. And if past form holds, Mr. Speaker, within a week of that date, the Commonwealth's Department of Taxation will have received over 500,000 returns. This is normally a very smooth process, but the General Assembly this year has failed to act, despite knowing of the short timeline that we have. We have jeopardized the entire collection process, potentially throwing filing season into chaos and needlessly delaying the refunds that many of our constituents, Mr. Speaker, are expecting and on which many of them rely. Imagine, members of the House, being a federal employee, being forced right now to work despite receiving no paycheck. Or you've been furloughed. You file your taxes on time, or maybe even early since you have a little extra time on your hands, and you've put much more than you usually do on credit cards, maybe missed a mortgage payment or two, or you're having trouble paying for childcare. Well, now another check is at risk because this body hasn't acted. Mr. Speaker, since Virginia first conformed to the federal tax code in 1972, this has always been an easy bipartisan issue, typically the very first thing we do every session. We can still come together, Mr. Speaker, to get this done because it's the right thing to do and because our constituents are depending on us. Failure to conform in a timely manner could bring about a host of unintended consequences for the Commonwealth. If we continue to wait and ultimately do not pass conformity, it could take up to 6 weeks for tax to change the necessary forms and make all the processing adjustments that they need to make. The result will be more errors, further delays, and reprocessing of any early returns. And many of our constituents, Mr. Speaker, will have to go through the time, hassle, and expense of filing amended returns. People are depending on these refunds, and people are depending on us. Now, no one in this body, I expect, likes filing taxes, despite what some people on the other side of the aisle might think. Democrats hate to pay taxes just as much as Republicans do. This Democrat sure does. Aside from the money, of course, even in a good year, it's a confusing and frustrating process. But as things stand now, Mr. Speaker, we're poised to make things even worse. We can save our constituents a lot of time and frustration if we simply do what we have always done. Mr. Speaker, this is beginning to look, to me at least, too much like what's afflicting our friends up the road in Washington, where our representatives are letting real people get stuck in the political crossfire. Let's meet our core responsibilities, Mr. Speaker, and remember the Virginia way. Let's work on a bipartisan basis to get this job done for Virginia. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.